3 days before the end of the fall semester, I had 4 research papers due, and I hadn't started on any of them. I didn't know where to start. I had tried everything. I had organized my sock drawer. I had tried and tested every single recipe in the book for cinnamon rolls. I had even watched my little sister's cartoons with her. But I hadn't started on my research papers, which were due that very week. So when the reality of the deadline finally struck me, and I realized that I was in total chaos, I panicked and I started working, fingers flying on the keyboard as I typed furiously. I skipped breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I forgot how to sleep. I just typed whatever nonsense came to my mind, filled in the word count, and didn't even bother proofreading. At exactly 11:59, I pressed the submit button. And I was done. No more sleepless nights or skipped meals. Well, for a while at least. In those 3 days, I had transformed myself from a procrastinating guru to a workaholic fanatic. I had somehow managed to do an entire month's amount of work in just 3 days. That whole ordeal of procrastinating until the very last minute was horrible. It resulted in extreme stress, horrendous grades, and 3 very bad days. In front of all of you today, I feel very experienced in talking about procrastination. It's always been a struggle for me. I always go into avoidance mode and I don't do anything whenever I have a deadline. Knowing that watching Powerpuff Girls with my little sister would accumulate stress, I would still watch it. My brain wanted me to stay out of discomfort, out of pain and challenge, and in that instance, it wanted me to be in a state of pleasure and comfort. So now the question is, why do we procrastinate? Dr. Tim Pitchell, the author of the book Procrastination, Solving the Procrastination Puzzle, has proposed that procrastination is an issue with managing our emotions, not our time. The task we're putting off is making us feel bad. Perhaps it's boring, or it's too difficult, or we're just worried about failing. And in order to make ourselves feel better in the moment, we start doing other things like watching random movies or videos. Sometimes we also get trapped in the law of triviality, which is a very common phenomenon known as bike shedding. We tend to waste time and energy on trivial things, like cleaning our bathrooms when they're already clean, instead of focusing on the more important matters. Interestingly, the word procrastination is derived from the Latin verb procrastinare, which means to put off something until tomorrow. So we continue to voluntarily delay an action, putting it off until later. But it's more than just that. Procrastination is also derived from the Greek word akrasia, which means to do something against our better judgment. Because we all know that we should not be procrastinating. Nevertheless, we still continue to delay our task against our better judgment. One of the biggest causes of procrastination is instant gratification. According to psychologist Darius Sinusoid, instant gratification is hardwired into the human brain. We always think short-term, wanting immediate pleasure right now, even if it means immense suffering and hardships in the future. One of the most evil forms of instant gratification is in our pockets right now, the smartphone. If we take a second to think about how many hours we have wasted in a day just mindlessly scrolling on social media, and what else we could have achieved in that time. According to data researcher Rebecca Moody, we spend on average 3 hours and 28 minutes per day on our phones. And the thing is, we know that we should not be pulling our phones out while we're doing something important. Yet we still seem to have that urge to check for updates on social media. We have that mental conversation with ourselves every single day. Of course, I'll get to work right after I scroll through 100 more posts about what everyone had for lunch. Because that's crucial information, right? Quite similar to instant gratification is the temporal motivation theory by Pierce Steele, who is the author of the book Procrastination Equation. This theory suggests that our tendency to procrastinate is closely tied to our level of motivation. We are unable to find the right inspiration, and rather than driving forwards to complete a task, we just tend to avoid it. So now let's talk about what we actually do to procrastinate. We all have different styles of procrastination. Some of us are productive procrastinators, while others are unproductive procrastinators. While I'm speaking, I want all of you guys to think and reflect on how you guys procrastinate. The unproductive procrastinators, they delay their tasks by doing things that don't help them achieve anything. Like I've noticed for me, I find myself standing up from my important work, going to the fridge, and just standing there for all of eternity, staring at the egg cartons inside, hoping for some divine meal to somehow come down. Or out of the blue, I would get this electric shock in the frontal lobe of my brain, and I would start cooking elaborate meals, transforming lunchtime into royal parties. Because clearly, the most logical thing to do when faced with a deadline is to perfect the art of making a sandwich. They say multitasking is a skill. So naturally, I'm just honing my multitasking abilities by simultaneously cooking, eating, and avoiding my looming responsibilities. Efficiency at its finest. And then there are others who would start off researching the French Revolution for their history paper. And a good nice 1 hour later, they would somehow end up watching videos about how ants eat bananas, or getting a PhD in the sleeping habits of a gorilla. And then there are the productive procrastinators. These guys are very productive, but just so that they can avoid doing what they're supposed to be doing, like my sister. She turns into this cleaning aberration. Just after she finishes ranting on about how much homework she has pending, I walk past her room and watch her meticulously folding her clothes and organizing her closet. The point is, when we have something we don't want to do, we seem to develop an urge to do just anything else. I'm sure all of you can relate to this. But now the question arises, how do we overcome procrastination? Well, procrastination was affecting me in the worst way possible. I found it almost impossible to focus on my work. The stress was overwhelming. I tried many techniques to overcome my habit of procrastination, but nothing was working. Until I finally stumbled across these tactics that completely transformed my life. So one of the most effective strategies that I used to break my habit of procrastination was pre-commitment, which is essentially a strategy for self-control, where we mindfully restrict the number of distractions available to us. Now remember, we procrastinate against our better judgment, and this happens to all of us. Every day we wake up with an honest intention, making a vow to ourselves that today is going to be a productive day. But while we're working, we get that urge to pull out our phones, and there we are 30 minutes later, still on social media. So when we pre-commit ourselves, we essentially limit the opportunities of distractions around us. Something like going to the library to study, leaving our phones at home, so that we do not even have that opportunity to distract ourselves. When I was growing up, my parents didn't get me a phone. And I never realized that I was going to grow up to appreciate it this much. So instead of a normal smartphone, I use this phone. This has helped me in detaching myself from what I would call is the biggest evil of our time. This ancient device is probably older than most of you, but it has truly saved my life. At the age of 14, I was able to start my own rollerblading and coding academies, while my friends were failing in algebra. And to this day, I am proudly a ghost in the browser, a digital minimalist. No Facebook, no Instagram, no Snapchat, nothing. But I still watch cat videos. The point is, I had managed to put myself in an environment where I was able to minimize distractions. And as a result, I was able to be a lot more productive. Another technique that I use to break the cycle of delay and indecision is the Stoic practice of negative visualization, which is a powerful exercise to practice gratitude by reflecting on the loss of what we value. It is to visualize the long-term consequences of our actions and to imagine ourselves facing that situation. The Stoics were philosophers in ancient Greece and Rome who came up with techniques like negative visualization to become more resilient against life's hardships. So instead of fearing those hardships or getting anxious or stressed about them, negative visualization suggests a radical process to embrace them and to face them. This process starts off by identifying tasks or goals we've been putting off. These could be personal goals, work-related projects, or simply anything else we've been avoiding. Then we have to vividly imagine the outcomes of delayed action, like lost opportunities, missed deadlines, or feelings of regret and disappointment. And then allow ourselves to experience the emotions associated with these outcomes, like anxiety and stress. Then use this visualization as a catalyst to commit to taking proactive steps towards our goals, motivated by the desire to avoid the imagined negative consequences. I saw a remarkable difference in my life. I stopped unnecessary distractions and redundant activities like playing video games for 5 hours straight. Instead, I started focusing on my work, on my fitness, and spending time with my family. Playing a few board games a day with my family and friends brought so much joy and contentment to me. I witnessed the smiles on my family's faces, felt the warmth of their presence. These were moments that could not be replicated in any virtual world and went far beyond the temporary thrill of completing a level in a video game. While negative visualization relies on imagining the long-term consequences, another technique is positive visualization, which involves imagining the best possible outcome. This is a powerful method used in personal development and goal achievement. In this technique, we have to picture ourselves creating specific but achievable goals and the steps we have to take to achieve them, and then imagine as if it is happening right now. This helps us redirect our energy and motivates us to take action. Remember, we cannot have anything if we don't see ourselves having it first. You and I, we all have an amazing imagination. Our minds cannot differentiate between what is going on in our heads and what is reality. The more vividly a person imagines something, the more likely they believe it is real. Van Gogh, a very famous painter, one of the most influential figures of Western art, he was asked how he produced such amazing work. He said, "First, I dream my painting, and then I paint my dream." Before I end, let's all try this powerful visualization together. Let's all close our eyes and take a deep breath in. Center yourself in this moment. Sit nice and tall and relax yourself. One palm on your belly, one palm on your chest. And breathe. Slowly breathe into your stomach and gently breathe out. Let go of any tension or stress you may be feeling. Another deep breath in. And as you exhale, allow yourself to sink deeper into relaxation and allow my voice to reach your subconscious mind. Acknowledge that procrastination is real. Acknowledge that we all get into the habit of delaying. And that's okay. as long as we are willing to come out of it. Now reflect with me and observe your thoughts. What tasks, commitments, and decisions are we delaying? Keep your eyes closed and reflect. Are there projects left unfinished? Preparation for a job interview? Or maybe studying for a speech? Take a moment to identify each of these areas where procrastination has crept in. Visualize yourself overcoming any hurdles or challenges that stand in the way, embracing the discomfort. View them as an opportunity to learn and grow. Take another deep breath in and visualize your ultimate goal. And ask yourself, what do you truly want to achieve? What does success look like to you? Where do you see yourself in 1 year? And now, imagine yourself reaching your goal. And gently open your eyes. Rise above and believe in yourself. Just believe. Only you have the power to break the cycle and transform procrastination into productivity. Thank you.